So he talked a lot about Ethereum, obviously. He was very critical, of course, of like all the layer twos and how much they've done damage to Ethereum, which they definitely have. And a lot of them are junk that people don't even really use anymore. Like, I don't even hear anybody talk about like optimism or anything like that anymore. Arbitrum, I don't hear anything about that stuff anymore. I mean, maybe something's happening on them. I don't really know. Um, he was critical but fair to Vitalik. And I mean, it's not like that's any kind of tone change from the stuff that we've seen him post over the last few months. I mean, he made the joke about like Vitalik, you should talk English a little bit more because if there's anything Vitalik is lacking, it's the marketing stuff that Richard is talking about so much. And Richard is definitely much more of a personality, much more of an in your face person that's going to come out and actually market. And Vitalik doesn't understand that stuff as much. But Vitalik is still around. He's still trying. He's still doing things. And Richard, obviously, as he mentioned as well, wants Ethereum to go up really badly and more than Vitalik, as he said. He thinks it will, and he's been banging this drum, since we saw a certain wallet buy Ethereum in droves at $3,900 a year ago or whenever it was because it was future casting an Ethereum ETF, which we do know now that did happen. And since then, we've taken a 60% haircut on the Ethereum price. But he did talk about institutions being involved in Ethereum and the ETFs and stuff and how bullish he felt that all of that stuff was. So, yeah, what did you kind of make of his overall feelings about Ethereum? Because I think he was kind of alluding to how much Ethereum he may hold personally, for one. But also about Ethereum being PulseChain's testnet. And is there anything that Ethereum has that PulseChain doesn't that you really want? You went a lot of interesting directions. So yeah, what did you make of all that?
Yeah, he was all over the place with the Ethereum discussion. Yeah, he said, I think I want it to go up more than Vitalik does. And it was interesting how he kind of twisted that and into there's nothing on there that we really want, as far as the updates that have been created that we haven't gotten for PulseChain. And he did basically come out and say, I'm not willing to push updates through that no one cares about and risk the security of the chain, because we just don't know. They have found bugs, they have found little things that could cause problems. And I think, that was his way of saying those updates really aren't important for what we're doing. It runs fine. They're not causing any kind of problems on our chain. And I'm not willing to risk the security of it to push updates through at the same time. So will they happen? I don't know. Can you pick and choose which updates you push through? Who knows? That's another, interesting question. Or do you have to go in the order, which I would believe if you're going to do one of them, you almost probably have to do all of them sequentially, because I'm sure that one was built on top of the next one and so on and so forth. The one thing he did say that was interesting was that hopefully we can also give you guys at Ethereum some updates that we create over here. And I thought that was, interesting of just to know, like, maybe what they're doing that Ethereum hasn't done that they could benefit from on that side of things. So I thought that was an interesting discussion. As far as layer 2 goes, he was talking a lot about the sequencer issues that people have, and I'm sure Dipcatcher wasn't too happy about that whole discussion when he was talking about it, because it does. I brought it up as a concern of mine about the bridge and the security. Didn't really call it a sequencer, but getting into the layer 2, that's how it's done, is through your sequencer. And if somebody turns it off, everything's stuck over there. You pretty much are at the mercy of the person that controls that. So again, not that I don't want to see it do well, because I hold EHEX, I hold plenty of EHEX. Never got rid of any of it when the fork happened. So I'm as much a fan as anybody of it, and want to see it do well. I'm not willing to take a chance, and throw it into something where it gives that one person that much control over what happens in there. So that was my take on it. As far as the, you know, the comment that he made, I'm one of the only English speaking founders too. You know, he was joking with Vitalik about, not speaking real fluent English. He does pretty good.
I don't think that's what that joke was. I think it was that Vitalik is always out here talking so technical and stuff like that people are like, "What the fuck are you even talking about, dude?" I think that's what he really meant. I think that's what he meant by that.
Maybe. I don't think English is his first language either, though.
Right?
So
No, it's not. I don't think.
so maybe a combination of the two things. I thought that was interesting, and he did kind of make a joke about it, so it wasn't a harmful comment at all that he didn't speak English, but I thought that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. What did you make? And sorry if you did say this and I missed it. I was looking at the chats about Richard Hart's body here. But what did you like? Did you intuit anything that, like Richard, we know, well, we suspect to know a certain amount of Ethereum that he may have, but about how badly he wants Ethereum to go up. I mean, like, do you think what is your speculation on how much he may have, how packed are his ETH bags,
Well, we know there's at least 180,000 sitting in the one wallet, but I would be willing to bet there is a lot more, because that was just from sacrifice. That was the DAI that had been converted over, in my belief, to make sure that the DAI didn't get frozen. And I think that's why, we've talked about this before. People are saying how terrible of a move that it was, based on timing and the price and everything like that, that he bought the top. And I really don't think he had a whole lot of choice. I think he was more worried about the SEC freezing funds, or DAI invalidating them or doing something. There's enough people in cahoots that something could have happened where the stable coins, aren't as decentralized as you may think, and could have become invalidated, or something could have happened. And again, we don't ever talk about the ETH that was collected in the adoption amplifier. There was many thousands of ETH there too. So my best guess is there's probably close to 500,000 Ethereum, somewhere between 300 and 500,000 Ethereum, that Richard would probably be happy to see rise in value.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Definitely bullish on Ethereum, it sounds like, even with this price right now. So glad to hear that.